Welcome to Raging Bullets, a DC Comics fan podcast, episode 662. Welcome to Raging Bullets. I'm Sean Whalen, drnorge, and I'm joined as always by my co-host Jim, the sensei of the whatnot, the master of speculation, the duke of the sultan of strategery, the bridge defying, is concerned by Sean's evil smile and recent eBay purchases of a flux capacitor, human-sized fishbowl, and gently used lazy boy chairs, but he still remains the elder statesman of the podcast, Segulin.
How's it going?
Jim, on this episode, we're going to be talking about Dark Crisis on Infinite Earths, issue number 4, and we're also going to be talking about Flashpoint Beyond, issue number 5. We are sponsored, as always, by DCB Service and InStockTrades.com. Mr. Segulin, what is going on over at DCBService.com?
We have Dark Crisis, the Dark Army one-shot, 40% off, only $3.59. We have Dark Crisis Warzone one-shot, 40% off, also $3.59. And Dark Crisis Worlds Without a Justice League Batman issue, 40% off, only $2.99. Thank you, DCBS.
Over at InStockTrades.com, they have some great deals. Robins being Robin trade paperback is $16.99, 50% off, only $8.49. Action Comics Volume 2 trade paperback from 2021, The Arena, $19.99 regularly, 50% off, only $9.99. Every time they have deals of the week, I always go to check them out because of the amazing deals that are there, and I try to catch the things that I miss. So I want to thank DCB Service and InStockTrades.com for continuing to support our show. Our contest. Jim, it's something that we talked about recently. We're going to make an announcement hopefully next week. What I want to see is I've actually had a few people reach out and saying that they wanted to participate in the last contest and didn't meet the deadline. So what I'm going to say is if you have something for last contest and you want to send it in, go ahead and send it my way. If I get those in, I may give prizes out from the last contest and then start a new contest. Otherwise, if we only get a couple entries, what I'm going to do is take those entries, make them a part of the new contest, and craft a new contest around something a little more open-ended. The idea is I want to do something fun for our next contest, and I want to wrap it up around some different ideas. I've got a few different ideas for contests. Please, if you have those entries, I was actually surprised. We had a number of people that reached out and said, hey, I was going to participate in that. I'm sorry. And if you have your ideas, send them in because I think they're going to be fun and funny, and we want them part of the show. So if you have those ideas, go ahead, participate, and bring them in as part of the contest because that's the idea. I think the spoiler warning thing, having some listeners contribute content or ideas for those would be a lot of fun. So I still want that to be a thing if people have those ideas. So we'll give another week for that. And if we get those entries in, we will make a decision on the new contest based around that. Mr. Segulin, what kind of a podcast are we?
Raging Bullets is a spoiler podcast. We go in-depth into plotline, story twists, and whatnot of the comics we're discussing on today's show. So if you haven't read the books, you may want to come back later so you can better enjoy the show.
Let's talk some comics. Jim, one of the cool things that's out there right now is that Batman the audio adventures that was released on HBO Max. Originally, they released only a few episodes of it. And it was over the last week, in celebration of Batman Day, that all 10 episodes are available now. So if you don't have an HBO Max subscription, or you prefer just to listen to it on your favorite podcast player, you can do that now. And I did. I actually went through this week and listened to the whole thing on my favorite podcast player. I listened originally by streaming HBO Max in my car. I like listening to podcasts in my car, or when I'm doing an outdoor walk or something like that. I prefer it to go through my podcasting app when we do it. Now, I get why they kept it behind the subscription model. Applaud them for creating it because it's awesome. Have you had a chance to listen to that?
Not yet, but I want to. It's one of those things that's on my list of things to listen to, and I'm starting to finding time while I'm working to listen to some stuff. Mm-hmm. Only problem I run into is some stuff I can't listen to while I'm working because I stop working.
Yeah.
I got to pick the right thing to actually listen to while I'm working. And a lot of stuff like this, I'll stop working while listening to it, and I'll just focus on this podcast and listening to the audio adventure. And and I'm not allowed to stop working while you're working, because it's work. Yeah, I get to work from home, but it's work from home, but not listen to podcasts. So I got to watch that.
Well, here's some of my favorite podcasts I can listen to while I'm working, because there's times where I'm doing things like creating student accounts or things like that they're tedious activities, but important activities. They take me time. I've got to build spreadsheets and things like that. I don't need to have like the razor focus, but I can't also listen to like a story.
Yeah.
So like things like the Arn Show, which is one of my favorite wrestling podcasts, that's a great one for that, because I can listen to it and listen to what he's saying and him go through the classic details, because it goes month by month of his wrestling career. It works. That one, Talkville, is another one where I can listen to that in the background and really enjoy the experience. Batman the Audio Adventures, I would not have been able to listen to that way. That's been a drive to and from work show, or when I do this 45-minute outdoor walk 3 times a week, or 4 times a week, depending on the alternating weeks, because I'd go every other day. When I do that, or if I'm on a treadmill, then I can focus on a story. So this is one of those that has to be that, because it's super cool. I highly recommend it, though, because there's an ongoing 10-episode story that just gets better as it progresses. There's a lot of fun stuff in there, like parody commercials and stuff, which are great. The cast is stunning. It is really a well-put-together production. And I think there's a little bit of a flavor in there for everybody. But there's an overarching 10-episode story that at first it isn't apparent that that's what's going on. And by the end, you're like, oh, that is cool how they took this down a path. Everything gets tied up into a really neat bow. It does set up itself to allow for a sequel, if they so choose. And I hope they choose, because this was really cool. So I'm glad to see that this release was free, and I hope it gets whatever they need in order to generate a sequel to it. I hope they get it from that. But in our Facebook group, there's links to how to get to it, like on Spotify and stuff like that. And I want to thank everyone for pointing this one out. Michael Bishop is replacing Jordan Elasass, Elsass, as Jonathan on season 3 of Superman and Lois. The new guy looks the part, which Jared's pointing out in his post, and I couldn't agree with him more. That's going to be a tough spot to replace. I'm glad that they're putting a lot of care into getting that back. Superman and Lois is one of my favorite shows. So when I heard he was leaving, I was really sad. And I'm glad that they're rushing to get a good replacement in there, get some news out about that, and build some confidence in that. That's a smart move. Everything they're doing right now is a smart move. Keep that going. I hope the best for the previous actor. That everything gets sorted out there, and wish the best of luck to Michael Bishop, because it's a great role. I'm looking forward. I mean, here's the thing. Historically, some of my favorite shows have had replacements like this, and they've worked out really well. Look, going back to the classic Superman show, the bold black and white one with George Reeves, they replaced Lois,
Yes.
and it worked. Both Loises were great. So these are things that do work in programs, and I hope this is going to be an example of that.
The casting for the show has been spot on with everything else. So that side of it, I'm comfortable with this guy. I'm not actually worried about the recasting, because we've seen they know what they're doing when it comes to picking the characters. They know what they're doing, matching up the actor with the characters. We've seen that historically, that it's been awesome. So I'm more concerned about Jordan, who's leaving, and I just hope he's okay personally. That's all this story that came out of this whole story for me has been, is he okay? And that's the thing. They're really not sharing too much. And again, he wants to protect his personal life, and I say, good. You should. So, I just hope he's doing okay. That's my only thoughts on the recasting.
Honestly, if this is a concerted effort to respect his privacy and to protect him, I say kudos, because that doesn't happen too much nowadays. Truthfully, if there's something going on there, I don't know all those details. Quite frankly, I respect the whole privacy aspect of it. He entertained me for the first 2 seasons. I grew to really like his portrayal of the character. So he's definitely a talent. You hear about people going through things all the time. Whatever it is, I'm with you. I hope that I think they're doing the best possible thing. Moving on, keeping it as quiet as you can, meaning in the sense that let's respect this. We're recasting. There's a reason why, yada, 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 but we're just going to move on and get the show moving forward. I think that is the most healthy and kind way to do this and professional way to do it. It should be professional. This seems very professional in its handling. I hope that's the case. Sometimes you find out there's other things behind the scenes you didn't know about. At least visually right now, everything appears to be being handled very professionally. And I think today it's a lot harder to do that. So kudos, at least for what it seems like is being handled right now. I hope I'm right on what I'm seeing here, because at least it looks kind in how everything's being handled. And that's a thing I appreciate. Bob Iger's assessing the streaming services, and we've talked about this on multiple episodes before. He says, I don't think they'll all make it. I think we're seeing that right now, though. The platforms are merging, and you're seeing bundles, and you're seeing like HBO Max and Discovery Plus merging together. We're seeing that happen with Paramount Plus and Showtime. I think you're going to see that happening first and foremost, and I think what it's going to be is there's still going to be multiple streaming services, and there's going to be giants. I think there's going to be new streaming services that are still going to come on the scene. I think what's going to happen is some of them are going to be successful, some of them are going to be failures. We have streaming services that have been around a lot longer than we all realize that are still out there and still functioning very well. Things like Crunchyroll and stuff like that we don't often enter into the conversation. They're smaller platforms in comparison to the giants and very targeted to specific types of content. But, those have survived. So there is a market for multiple streaming services out there. And I think we're seeing that works. But I think you're going to see mergers of them. And I think the reason why they're going to have to merge is I think the price point they launched them at is not sustainable. And for the amount of content that people demand out of them. We want fresh, we want new, we want additional added content to them. Because here's the point: if the only trick is adding a lot of older material, which I love, I want that on my streaming service. Give me tons of content. Besides that, I want fresh and new, and we need that in order to draw people to it. D23 is this weekend, Disney's fan convention, and they're announcing all kinds of streaming stuff coming to Disney Plus. This stuff looks outstanding. I mean, there's stuff from Marvel, there's stuff from Star Wars, there's stuff from Disney. I mean, it's like Pixar, everything you can possibly imagine is like coming out, and things that you were surprised by. So, and it's funny, as I was watching that, I was thinking to myself, and we aren't doing Fandom, why?
Exactly.
Because really what I think they should do is rework Fandom and incorporate HBO Max into it, incorporate Discovery Plus into it, and do that as a way to maybe take all of their platforms or all of their content and put it together. I know, as a comic fan, obviously I want it only to be DC-based. They really should have something out there with opportunities to showcase and spotlight their various brands, DC being one of them. Selfishly, I want it to be only DC, but what we're seeing is, D23 is a great platform to make people aware of Marvel content. Tons of video games, tons of TV shows, tons of movie announcements. That's working. They really should, to the point where they should be taking a look at certain things. I don't know. They had a whole big convention. That went off without a hitch. And they've got free live streams for that and everything. They need to take a long look over there, because it's important, I think, to bring fans together. There's ways to brand themselves as a juggernaut that incorporates the HBO Max content and incorporates the stuff from Discovery Plus. They can do a lot of that and make it work. Did you see the final trailer for Black Adam that's on there?
Oh, yes, I did. Dude, I am so pumped and so excited for
it's
this.
It's soon. Wait, I mean, it's
October, man.
Yeah,
it's coming.
I keep thinking it's so far away. It is not. I mean, it's like a little over a month away. I'm so stoked for this.
Yes.
This is opening night, right? No brainer.
Oh, definitely, yeah.
Are we going to this? I mean, is this
Heck yeah, let's
okay.
do it.
Okay, good. We'll do I enjoy doing these things with you, so we'll do that. We'll go do dinner and a movie, and go see that our usual little expo. Now, some of this stuff is going to be not DC related, but I couldn't agree with him more. Out of D23, there's an untitled Captain America and Black Panther game set in World War II that's coming. They got me on this one. I mean, these are the kind of announcements I love. As a comic fan, these are the kind of announcements I love. D23 has been fun this weekend for this kind of stuff. Do you get into like we like Elseworlds, right? Does gaming content intrigue you when it's like set in unique eras? Because I did not have any idea they were doing a game set in World War II, and especially with like Captain America and Black Panther, for example, doing like an Avengers based game set in World War II. I think it's a great time to set a Avengers game. Setting it in a different era like that, to me, is branching out and really embracing the cool factor of things you can do with comics. Does that kind of stuff, does that intrigue you to take an additional look, or where do you fall in that? Because to the point, we've talked about the fact that we're different kinds of gamers. For me, it's kind of like, I'll pre-order this. Yeah. So that's where I'm at. Where do you fall in that category as the more casual gamer out of the two of us?
Period pieces do intrigue me, especially, because I want to see how close and tight they do to that, like the Conan movie, the Conan games, and stuff like that. I was curious about how whether it was really how tight it was within that time period, or pirate pirate game. I was really like, I think I want to do this, but you really needed a crew, and I'm like, I don't know, and that kind of stuff. It's where if they really do dive into that period and you're heavy into it, that is kind of stuff that I like.
Is that something that would get you to potentially playing that game?
Oh, definitely potential playing it. The only thing I'm thinking this seems to me like it's more of a shooter game, and that kind of game than surviving in World War II and living in World War II. See, for me, a game about World War II I would be more likely to play versus a shooter game that takes place in World War II. So
you would actually be checking out gameplay trailers as it gets closer because of the fact that you'd want to see, is this the type of game that I can wrap my head around? Yeah. If so, they could pull you in.
Here's how I scope out a game whether I want to play it. Mm-hmm. I go to YouTube and I watch the play-alongs and stuff like that. Mm-hmm. I've got a couple people that I kind of like. They don't annoy me that much. Some of the play along people, they try to be a character.
Yeah.
And so for me, it takes away from the game. Like, no, just talk about the game. Talk about how I'm really liking this motion, this action. This is kind of neat. Ooh, that's kind of fun. Oh, that can get into it. But if they're trying to be a character, then I usually stop following. But play-alongs, and all that. I sit and I just watch somebody else play a game. And I'm like, that's how I learn whether it's something I would like.
The new Superman era beginning is really, really cool. I can't wait to see 1050. What's going on with Clark and John's world and how they're going to do this. It sounds like it's, at least from everything that it looks like I'm reading, that we're going to be doing a lot more incorporating of the Superman family. And just, I can't wait. I've enjoyed so much the story that's been told so far. I'm at a point where I was ready for that story to wrap up, as we talked about last episode. I am really intrigued by this. Boy, this Steve Beach is hitting it out of the park with covers.
Yes.
That cover is outstanding.
I know, man, yeah.
I love it.
I'm looking at the article says with 25 variant covers. I'm like, Jim's going to be spending some money that month.
Look at that Steve Beach one, though. I mean, Jim, look at that Steve Beach one, though. I love when they have the costume where you can actually see, like, the real material.
Yeah.
Where you could, like, that's a person wearing a suit. It's impressive when artists are able to pull that off like that, and I really appreciate that kind of presentation. There's a reality to that I think some artists are able to pull off. And I love all different versions I like the painted on costumes and everything, so I'm not knocking any of that. It's just something where this is a little bit of a different thing, and I enjoy that. I love different artists because of the fact that they'll intrigue me in a different way. This really struck out to me.
Yeah.
Well, this is something you may love. Netflix may be ditching its binge release model. Now, I love the binge release model, but I'll use an example of a show that I'm watching similar to a traditional release. It's The Sandman. Because of time, I've been watching like an episode each week as if it was episodic, being released that way. I like the fact that I can watch 2 or 3 of them at the same time if I want to. So I like the binge release model myself. I don't know. I honestly don't care either way. To me, it's quality of programming is going to be the draw. Give me quality programming. So whether they ditch the binge release or whatever they need to do and whatever reason that they're doing it, if they think that's going to be more of a draw to regularly coming to their platform, cool. don't care. Just keep quality programs coming. That's all I really need in order to draw me in. Because a lot of times I get behind on shows anyway, and I will binge watch them. So it doesn't matter, you know, when they end up releasing it. On their platform right now, Sandman has overthrown Stranger Things as the number one program.
Yes.
And I'm thrilled by that because we have not heard confirmation of season 2 yet. And I know this is an expensive show. I'm hoping that means... Because, man, right now I'm at the Doll's House episode, so people know where I'm at watching-wise. And that actually, I just finished watching that before you and I started the episode right up to that beforehand. It was the first episode with Death. And oh my gosh. There's an example of casting choices where they appear different than maybe you would have thought based on the comic or things like that, but they nail it. Every single actor in that show has nailed their roles. Thematically, tone-wise, presentation-wise. I don't care that it's Joanna Constantine instead of John Constantine. It feels just as... John Constantine is super cool and icky at the same time. And boy, is she nailing that. And I'm getting the same thing from Death. Death is one of my favorite Sandman characters. And the actress who's playing Death right now is just absolutely nailing it. The moments between her and Dream are so good. It's so needed at that point in time and so emotional. Oh, the show is good. So to the point of ditch and binge, I don't care how you release it. Just release it. Please make more of this. If you think that ditching binge watching is going to help draw people to you, cool, do it. I don't care. Just keep the quality content. That's really important to me, especially when we're talking about a very competitive landscape right now. It just doesn't matter to me. I get behind on stuff, and I'm willing to keep subscribing to your platform as long as the content's there for me to go to. That is a point, though, that Bob Iger's making. This is a very, like, cutting the cable is not as cost effective as it's not the cost savings that it was meant to be, you know, that everyone said it was going to be. I'm paying just as much as I was paying when I had cable. I just have the programming that I like. I want these services to survive, and as long as they're producing this kind of stuff. That show is nailing it. Have you had a chance to watch like much of that, or where are you at? I know that's a program that, you know, is harder for you to watch.
With Sand?
Yeah.
I binged it.
Oh, you watched the whole thing?
Yeah.
Oh, that says a lot.
Well, here's what happened was, I had COVID, as you know, and some people know, some don't. So while I had COVID, Dad was staying at my sister's house because I didn't want to get him sick. Mm-hmm. So, one of the big things because again, as I've said before, the TV that's got the Fire Stick is our main TV. And Dad would have sat through and watched Sandman because he's cool that way, but there's no way he would have enjoyed it. It's too freaky for him. So while he was at my sister's house, I'm like, I'm free to watch what I want. You know? And so I binged watch Sandman.
Oh, that's great.
So one of the good things that came out of me getting COVID.
That is good. I mean, well, not that you got COVID.
It's absolutely brilliant. I've recommended it to multiple people. I'm like, if you haven't seen it, you must watch it. Yeah. Oh, God, yeah.
Yeah, you don't need to know anything either. It's one of the great things about the show.
They do a great job because there's so much of the Sandman that I've completely forgotten about, and like, oh yeah, I remember. Okay, and so I think you can walk into it, not having any knowledge of Sandman, sit down, watch it, and be thoroughly entertained because it's just an absolutely brilliant show. But it's it's completely honors the original medium. Plus, it gives you this amazing show, and I'm 100%, hoping for a season 2. I was really happy when I saw it over through Stranger Things. Like, and so
by the way, I want to say I'm a huge fan of Stranger Things. I was glad to see it overthrow it because of the season 2 aspect of it, and like Stranger Things is wrapping up next season. So I'm like, okay, Stranger Things is protected anyway, so just go for it. I think it's cool. Disney Plus is really... I think this is cool. They're doing a limited series on Secret Invasion, which I don't know how else you'd do that story other than as a miniseries. So I'm glad that's going to be coming in 2023. We're getting The Mandalorian, we're getting Willow, we're getting the Andor series. I mean, it's really cool, the stuff that's coming out to Disney Plus. back to HBO Max. October 6th, more Pennyworth.
Yes.
I love Pennyworth. It is a great, great show. If you haven't had a chance to catch this yet and you have HBO Max, do yourself a favor and get caught up before or, in preparation, building towards the new season. It's really a good show because it tackles a time that we don't see in the comics.
Yeah. The thing I absolutely love about this, and I've said this before about the show, is they could call this any other thing. He could be he doesn't have to be Pennyworth. He could be John Smith. And may not be the Waynes. It could be the Thomases, whatever. The story they tell on its own is absolutely wonderful. I 100% love the spy, thriller, intrigue, period piece kind of story being told. Now, it's a little extra something because it's Alfred and because of the Waynes and all that, all that tied to the DC universe, but they could change it so it's not these characters, and it would still be an amazing story. I think that, for me, is the 100% strength on this. Now, again, for me, I love the fact that it is, Alfred. So I'm like, yeah, that's cool. So, but I think when they created this, it's kind of like how with a lot of stuff with Gotham was a great story, on its own, where it was a great cop story. It was a great gritty city story. It wasn't that, it was a Batman origin story, but it wasn't about Batman. It was about this, police story. It was about this intrigue. It was about these great characters that they spent time developing and getting you used to and loving. I think that is what they're doing with Pennyworth, where they really built a solid character, solid cast, solid connection to all these people.
So on Disney Plus on October 7th, they're going to be streaming Werewolf by Night. And what was cool, Jared further added on saying that it's being directed by Michael Giacchino, and apologies for any name butchery there. It's Giacchino, who's a notable music composer responsible for the soundtracks of The Mandalorian, the Abrams Star Trek movies, the Tom Holland Spider-Man movies. You could do Tom Holland Spider-Man too. Superman too, but and the Batman. So this is somebody who is just a true talent that's been involved in some really big films, is doing this one. And he's right, that is way cool. I think why that's relevant for this particular show is I think it's important to take a look at what they're doing over at Disney Plus with some of these Marvel releases, because there's a model there that I think HBO Max needs to be looking at, Warner needs to be looking at, whoever's driving that ship, because we had mentioned that there was somebody that was attached to be kind of the lead, and I think that person's now not going to be. That's not happening. So they need to get somebody in charge of this really do a good job of finding the right person who isn't afraid to push for properties like this for DC. I was excited for Strange Adventures, and that's not going to happen. And I think this is an example of that kind of product where these things work. And they add to additional unique content. I mean, what a brilliant time to release Werewolf by Night, right? In October. Duh. What a cool thing to pop up there in Disney Plus. It's something that people would be looking for in the October month. It's a great way to get that property, people click on it and go, oh, it's Halloween. Let me take a look at what this is going to look like. And put it in front of people. And if people are interested, do more. I mean, duh. Really smart. And I realize there's production costs that go along with that, but that's why you have to do it with creative talent like he's mentioning, who have nailed it, who's proven creative talent, knowing that there's a certain element of risk to it, but knowing that if you release it at the right time, you make sure people know that it's a Marvel Studios thing. I mean, you get that branding and people's confidence in that brand in place and keep putting out quality product. People will just tune in because of the fact, oh, cool, like something that could be Halloween related coming out of Marvel Studios. Oh, I am going to check that out. Duh. I mean, this is kind of no-brainer stuff. So I think it's important to keep taking a look at what they're doing over there, to our own wish lists, because the stuff that they're passing on right now, I'm really disappointed in. The Strange Adventures in particular, I think, is one that was like, what? Yeah. Like, that seems like a winner to me. Why did you not? And I think that's part of the problem right now is they do not have the brand identity that Marvel Studios does. They have to figure that out. I'm not saying they have to mirror exactly what Marvel Studios is doing. I think that would be a mistake. But I think what they do need to mirror is a strong plan to make a confident brand identity where that people can go, oh, DC. All right, they're doing cool stuff. They've certainly released some things in recent years that are starting to build more confidence, right? The Joker movie is a great example of that. The Batman is a great example of that. Black Adam, Shazam, Aquaman, Wonder Woman. I mean, the TV shows, Titans, Doom Patrol, stuff like that. I mean, really good, high quality stuff that's coming out. The CW stuff, So, I mean, we often talk like the DC brand isn't a strong brand. It sure is, but they need to establish that as a linked brand identity, and I think that's where the failure is coming in. That people have confidence in the same way they do Marvel Studios, because you can put that Marvel Studios stamp on something, people aren't scratching their heads; they're diving at it. Whereas it seems like the CW stuff is its own lane. The stuff that's on HBO Max for Titans and Doom Patrol is kind of its own lane. You know what I mean? If I'm making any sense?
Yep.
And I'd like to see that as a linked brand banner that is they better put out there. And I think that would help this content come to us in the same way. I don't know. Werewolf by Night is something I will watch instantly. I think that's cool.
Yeah, I'll be honest with you, I have no absolutely idea about what this is about, to be honest. I've never heard of Werewolf. Is it an actual Marvel? It is? Okay.
Yeah. And it's a classic one. I mean, but to your point, you don't hear about it in the same vein that you hear about the Avengers, the X-Men, stuff like that. It's more strange adventures than anything else. It's that kind of challenges the unknown. It's stuff that okay, I think I've heard of that before. It's that kind of thing. I applaud them for, putting that out there because I think it's cool.
Now is Werewolf by Night, is he Werewolf for London?
That they don't do that in that. And actually, if they do that in this show, I would say that's a mistake. Well, I'll pull back. That music could be in the background for certain reasons. Depending on, where they place it in the show, you could make that work, but you have to have a kick-butt show around that. I did want to shout out something that I started reading this week. Batman's Mystery Casebook. It's in all ages. It's by Shali Fish and Christopher Uminga. The idea is it's an attempt. It's kind of like, remember as kids we grew up with Encyclopedia Brown?
Yeah.
It's that kind of thing with Batman, where they give you clues along the way, and your job is to try and solve the mystery before Batman. They actually have, in the page before it's revealed, they actually have a bat symbol down there that's supposed to stop. Like, they give you rules in the beginning of it, directions on how to, they walk you through a mini prologue mystery to show you how you could have solved this along with us using, skills of deduction. So, the first story is a Riddler story where you're using you're trying to solve the riddles along with the Caped Crusader. There are clues sprinkled along the way that get to the final clue of how do Batman and Robin save themselves from the dire situation that they're in. And they stop you there, and you've got to go back and take a look at all the riddles, and there's a clue sprinkled in each riddle that leads to the solution. It's all ages fun. So it's this is clearly geared towards being appropriate for kids and everything like that. It's not meant to be in continuity, but yet obviously has Batgirl and has Batman and has Robin, and I really enjoy the presentation of this. It's fun. It's lighthearted. It made me feel like during reading it like a kid again. Is it for everybody? It's not meant to be for your diehard comic fans who are like, I want something grit and gritty. Applaud you. I love that too. If the family friendly stuff is not your cup of tea, then no, this isn't for you. But it's really geared towards an all ages audience. I'm finding this fun. It's a nice lighthearted read, and I'm really enjoying it. I'm actually enjoying trying to solve the mysteries. That's a fun thing. It's taking me back. I use the Encyclopedia Brown thing as probably my closest example. And I liked those books a great deal as a kid. So they still work for me now as an adult. I mean, this kind of presentation still works for me as an adult, but that's what this is. And the artwork's really cool. I like it. It's really neat. I would love to see this turned into some form of animation or a game. This kind of presentation, I should say, just because it kind of lends itself to that. But this was kind of cool to see.
To the Batmobile. Let's go. Atomic batteries to power. Turbines to speed. You're ready to move up.
Our first discussion this episode is going to be on Dark Crisis on Infinite Earths, Chapter 4, Crossovers. Joshua Williamson on script, Daniel Sampier on art, Alejandro Sanchez on colors, Tom Napolitano on letters, Sampier and Sanchez on the cover, Terry Dodson and Rachel Dodson, Dan Jurgens, and Norm Ratmond and hi-fi, Nathan Czerny, Brett Booth, Jonathan Glapian, Alex Sinclair, Victor Bogdanovic, Sampier and Sanchez on the variant covers, and apologies for any name butchery there. Chris Rosa, associate editor, Paul Kaminski, editor. Superman created by Jerry Siegel and Joe Shuster. Supergirl based on the characters created by Jerry Siegel and Joe Shuster by special arrangement with the Jerry Siegel family. And like I said, apologies for any name butchery because this has been quite the creative team. I've really been enjoying this. I love that they called it Dark Crisis from the get-go and waited for the On Infinite Earths. And they're re-releasing like the original issue with the new branding and, later printings with that. With the idea of holding off where this was heading. And I really am enjoying this event. We've only got 3 more issues after this.
Yes.
Which there seems to be a lot going on. I can't wait to see where this is heading. Boof. Starting this off with Barry and Hal was exactly what I needed from this series. This is where I love Legacy. I love Legacy where we don't need to get rid of characters. We can use them in unique ways. Barry and Hal have a great history. Having this opening with Hal, having the confrontation with Kyle, who's not Kyle.
Yep.
And then the Brave and the Bold team up of these two. I geeked out. I completely geeked out because I'm a Barry fan. It's funny, I became a Barry fan because of Wally, but I am such a Barry fan.
The thing I loved about this opening was I loved how Hal just, when they're the fake constructs were, like, you're not welcome here, Parallax. He's like, really? Come on. You're not Kyle. You're just fake construct. And I loved how he called it. And the best thing was, like, do you 3 fakes have stronger willpower than the real deal? And I loved how his eyes starts glowing, but then they still hit him pretty hard.
Yep.
So it's, there is power there. And I loved how, again, as soon as they identify, they're like, okay, well, you're taking on the darkness. And they acknowledge their fakes, that they are the darkness. And that's when Flash comes in for the save. This, for me, was a brilliant opening on the story. Because, again, we know what's going on. They 100% revealed it. And I love how both of them are like, the world's fake. I know. Pariah. I know. Okay, anything you don't know, Big Brain? It was a great banter back and forth between the friends, between the team up. This, for me, brilliant opening that I was absolutely loving.
This is why continuity is important. Because when you've got history, when these characters have that kind of longevity and they hook up together again, you have those moments with old friends that we can relate to, right? And I think that there's a nice balance when you have these accessible new characters, but then you have the mainstays that have been around a while that you can kind of pick up on, that there's a hierarchy. I like that. This just so totally worked. Here's the thing. Hal doesn't have his ring, but take a look at those eyes. Yep. He's powering up, which is such a Hal thing to do, right? He's got that confidence, that willpower, that swagger. He was ready to go toe-to-toe with them without his ring in this world where he's able. I mean, that's Hal Jordan. That's what I love about Hal. Each of the Lanterns have their things, right? Green Lantern Corps at its best, it's not about necessarily choosing your favorite. I will admit I'm a Hal guy. You're a John Stewart guy. But there's people listening to this that are Kyle guys or Guy Gardner guys. There's nothing wrong with any Green Lantern that you're particularly attached to in your it's actually be interested to see about Baz and Jessica. If there's people that jumped on board because of them now, because I don't want to forget about them because they had a cool series.
They had a cool run, yeah.
Yeah. So there's a lot of Green Lanterns to latch onto as your potential favorites over the years. And clearly when you go to conventions, people dress up as all different Green Lanterns. There's a draw to the various ones. Where they succeed is when you really embrace the personality and you embrace the unique character strengths of each one. This was a Hal moment. And we've had plenty of John moments. I can't wait to see more moments like that. That's good writers know how to do this, where it's satisfying no matter who you're a fan of.
Exactly. Oh, big time. And again, Hal Jordan is the only Lantern who is able to create a ring just out of his sheer willpower. So Hal does have something that the others don't have. And again, like the fact that he's able to tap into the energy that is, this darkness, just because of sheer willpower. And it's, again, you said it perfectly, where, it doesn't matter who your Lantern is, you got to respect all of the Lanterns for each of the individual strength they bring to it. And this is, again, I so want to see these two together. I want to see the Justice League come back. I want to see all the different worlds that the Justice League are in. They're crafting just an absolute fabulous story that I want to read regardless. We pretty much know how this story is going to end, but it's the how it gets there is the part that has me really drawn in. We know the Justice League is going to come back. We know the worlds are going to be fine. We know that, there's going to be the recreation of Infinite Earths again. That's, I don't have a problem that I pretty much am confident I know the ending. I want to see the journey to get there. And I think that's something, the strength that the Dark Crisis story has done. With all the side stories, with everything working together, it has made me want to see the story. It's kind of like I've said multiple times, Death of Superman. We knew Superman was going to die, yet I still wanted to see where that was going. I still wanted to read it. I still, to this day, enjoy, whenever I read Death of Superman, the power of those moments. Even though I 100% know how it ends, I know the aftermath, I know all that stuff, still, when I read that story, I still get there's emotional moments that I still feel when I read Death of Superman. This Dark Crisis has that same kind of energy to me, it's because they're crafting the story so well from the beginning through the middle, and I'm excited for the ending just because I want to see how it gets there.
Here's something to do that I think is super cool, and it's where I think a company does a good job of, okay, not everyone's going to read all the one-shots, so we're going to give you what you need to know from the one-shots here. We're also going to give you a reason why you may want to check them out anyway.
Yep.
And I think this does a great job of keeping everybody in the loop with the basics of the story. They give you the nice note to the 3 issues of The Flash, which I think is really important. Saying, hey, you want more of these details? They're in The Flash.
Yeah.
We've given you the Cliff Notes version, so that way you're up to speed and you can be on the same page as the people that actually read that. Smart. I think they're doing a really, really good job of doing that instead of forcing you to read stuff you don't want to. To me, that's one where it's like, is it a money grab or is there substance to it? There's substance to it. You're probably going to want to read this because it's a cool story. But, if you don't, we want you to enjoy this story right here that we're reading because we believe in the story that's being told here. I think that is the best way to do these events. And I love all of the extra content that I'm reading relating to Dark Crisis. I think it's important to do it this way. Because that's where, over the years, people used to get eventitis because they had to pick up 7 billion things that they didn't want to. This opens you up to say, well, okay, I'm reading this right now. I'd kind of like to read those Flash issues, and maybe I want to see that Wonder Woman story because I'm a big fan of hers. That's what my budget can afford right now, so that's the extra stuff I'm going to read along with this. Or I can't read any of that, but I just want to read Dark Crisis. Can I be with everybody else? Yep, you can. I love when companies do it this way. This is a better way to approach an event. The art team is doing a great job with the Flash and the Flash effects. They always look a little bit differently, right? Sometimes they do like this, it's more of that $6 Million Man slow motion running. Yeah. Other times there's other blur effects and things that they do. I like that there's different ways to portray the whole Flash effect, and it's neat to see it. The Hall of Justice War Room is really cool because Wildcat's showing up on the scene and basically coming in with that bravado and confidence of the fact that we are the JSA. We've been here. We've done this. We are your veteran team. We are polished. We are solid. We're going to, basically tip the scales here. And John's right on this one. We can't underestimate him and what's going on here. And he's right. And this issue, I think, further broadcasts that because they're talking about all of the different events that have happened, including fitting in metal. Everything that's happened in the DC universe has happened historically. I really like the fact that they're talking about these big events. We've got a lot more heroes that are on the scene right now, but everyone's reacting. There is not a proactive plan at this point. They're taking a look at everything that's happening around the scale of everything, and they can't get ahead of it. And I think that's something that is a really strong feeling at this point in issue number 4 is they're mounting defense to this. But there is no offensive. There's no, plan for that. And I like that feel because I feel that gives this dire sense to the story that feels very realistic.
Yeah. And again, I love when you see the heroes break down and analyze the situation. And again, everything you were saying about John, I love that. The fact that John, he didn't just step aside and say, I tried, I'm not going to. No, he's still in there. He recognizes, hey, I need help. I'm not exactly the leader for this mission, but I'm still going to be there. And I'm still going to put my, my knowledge and my experience and my, the fact he is Superman, he's going to be there. And I love seeing Damian also in the war room. So it was a neat seeing the whole generational gap that went across the spectrum in there and how, they're breaking things down and they're trying to understand it. But again, it's, some of the gripping scenes, you see on the side stuff with all the heroes doing what they can to help out. But I love those moments with Lantern and Nightwing. Those were just, again, great. Just those, you take that moment where you just calm the action down and you just slow it down for a minute and you get very human reactions here. Nightwing was defeated, not just physically defeated, mentally, emotionally, spiritually. The core being that is Dick Grayson has been crushed. And I loved seeing that, just because, in my head, I know it's rally time. I know we're going to get Nightwing stepping up. When this is all said and done, we're going to see Nightwing that we all know and love, rising higher than he was before. So it's one of those things. I feel horrible for my friend because I do consider these characters my friends, but I know he's going to step up. But I love the fact that it was Lantern sitting there with him saying, "Hey, you've been knocked down. You got to get up. You can't just sit there." And I love him bringing up his parents, how they were amazing. They were fearless. Gotham's not an easy town to stand out in. But they did it, and you did too. And I love the fact that he's not telling him you could do it as well. He's like, no, you already did that. You already stood out. You are, he's not a Robin. He's not a Batman sidekick. He is his own hero. He is somebody that people go to and people lean on and people look up to. And I love just that kind of that feeling of that energy, and it's again, gripping story told in a couple pages, just further adding to, as I said, this story has been playing out, been laying everything down brilliantly that I'm so caught up in it and I want to see more.
It's funny, you mentioned something about John not being the leader. I liked that war room group, you'd be hard-pressed, it was more like a council that was meeting to have a discussion, because I don't know who you'd pick out as the leader there. And I think Alan Scott is maybe reaching out to Dick Grayson either to be a leader or to be a part of that council, to be another voice. I don't know. It's going to be interesting to see if somebody steps out as a clear-cut leader or if there are a group of leaders. Clearly, Alan Scott's recognize him as a talent that can be a symbol that people will rally behind and be a part of that process. And that's one of the reasons why this time is personal, it's intimate, but also you get what he's doing. He's recognizing we need you back in the game. We need you, stepping up, because right now people need a symbol. They need that person that they just know they can trust to rally behind and rely on. And I think that's the reason why Deathstroke did the things that he did. He was trying to break him down in this way. And that's where he succeeded. So it's going to be interesting to see where this goes. I loved those moments because it made this really compelling.
See, I read this as Alan wants Nightwing to be the leader.
Well, that's how I was reading. That's what I just said.
What?
That's what I just said.
Well, you said he like part of the council.
No. I said
I 100% think Alan wants Nightwing to be the leader, and I think we're going to get that. That's why I say I'm thinking we're going to get some really cool moments with Nightwing coming up. And I think we're, you think back to with Slade how he's corrupted by the darkness. Mm-hmm. It's going to be the light of Nightwing that can take that down.
Well, that's what we're saying the same thing.
We're saying the same thing, yeah. We're just saying it
because, I mean, basically the way I'm looking at it is this attack was deliberate by Slade to psychologically do this,
break him,
which is I think far worse than if he killed him. Because at this moment, with him being dejected like this, they don't have that leadership to pull off of. I think the council part, when you look at that at the beginning, I think what's clearly missing from there is a leader. And it's not that any of those people are incapable of stepping up and being that person. I think what they're doing is right now. You've got representations of multiple teams there. It's kind of the best think tank of that whole group that's there. But obviously, having Nightwing there would be huge as somebody to rally behind. He is like your veteran. And Alan Scott, it's hard. It's funny saying that Nightwing is the veteran with Alan Scott standing right there. But it says something that Alan Scott is recognizing who Nightwing is and how he would be that figurehead. I love that. It's going to be interesting to see what this like hierarchy looks like afterwards. Because what I mean before when I was saying that I don't think there will be necessarily one single person. There may be that one, kind of like in the Justice League where you say like, okay, who's the one that's flying out in the front? It's Superman. But you would say that Batman's the strategist. This person's that. I think that council that we see sitting back there are going to have a role as, being kind of the way that the Justice League operates. I think it's really important that you utilize your talent in that way. But obviously, Dick Grayson not being that one like running in the front. I mean, he's like Braveheart, right? I mean, that's the guy you're following into battle, right? Yep. And we're seeing it the same way. That's what I mean by the council, though. I think there's going to be like this core group that, because there's a lot of heroes out there. You can't have all of them in a room together as they're talking out their war plan. I think you're going to have a smaller group, like a subset that's going to become more clearly defined as this goes on, that Dick Grayson's going to be working with, that's going to rally these teams together. But you got to, because, boy, as you turn the page and start taking a look at what's going on with the Legion of Doom, I really loved these, because talk about some character moments that were well written. Just as important is to show the Legion of Doom, who are well-established villains, and showing that they have certain codes. They have certain unique things that are going on with them. I absolutely love Black Adam and Grodd's confrontation. I like that's what's going on with Captain Cold. And Captain Cold's bottom line is, are we really going to let Deathstroke and some C-listers show us up? And, Cheetah's even saying that, but insulting punchline being like, who's this person over here? It's something that really is, the Legion of Doom operates very differently than the Justice League, but has some heavy hitters. They are not being given the time to rally, because I loved that we get to see what I thought was the formation of this good, really cool rally of the Legion of Doom with Black Adam. This was something that Deathstroke and the Great Darkness, whatever the Great Darkness is, or whatever's running the Great Darkness is, because there's that, we're going to have to talk about that. Whatever the Great Darkness is, or whatever's going on with the Great Darkness, has anticipated this. Before this team can get organized, they are being stomped out.
Yep.
I loved this, because I did not see this coming. I thought we were going to see like this really big epic battle, and it is in its own way, but it's an epic battle of them getting trounced.
Yeah, they got squashed here. And one of the things that got me, this opening, that great, double-page spread that shows the full army of the darkness there coming in. You know one image that I'm not noticing in that?
What?
Rose, his daughter. If you remember, last issue ended with him and her when he started corrupting all the other villains.
Yeah.
What happened to her?
I don't know.
That was the first thought because I started looking through. I like seeing Harley there, and I like seeing the full, all the different various villains. She's the one I didn't notice, and I'm like, oh no, don't kill her off, please, because she is awesome. Or is she the one who can fight off the darkness? Is she the one? Is she going to be one of those pieces that can fight back in the darkness? Because Slade is in there.
Where are you seeing Harley?
What?
Where are you seeing Harley?
Blonde ponytails, 2 guns.
That's not Harley.
That's not Harley?
No.
Who is that then?
Harley has multicolored hair. That's not.
Oh, okay.
Harley's not a blonde.
I just assumed that was Harley.
No.
To be honest. Any idea who that is then?
Is that one that went up against Green Arrow with Love?
Oh,
the hearts are the key. The hearts are the key to me.
Yes,
I'm trying to remember who that is. That's not Harley though.
Okay. Cool. That's even better then, because I like Harley.
Yeah.
But yeah.
I don't think Harley's with any of them right now. Oh wait, Harley didn't. I don't know that we've seen Harley, have we?
No, I don't know.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, cool. But that's the thing. I'm wondering if Rose has a way to fight it because Slade's in there with Dick Grayson, and when he rises up, maybe because of his connection. That's what I'm wondering if we're going to see again. It's the darkness isn't going to be. It's going to be defeated by the heroes, but not 100%. It's going to be defeated when Slade fights back. It's going to be defeated when Darkseid, who's trapped inside the darkness, fights back. We're going to see. I think one of the things that is we're going to see the heroes win. The world's going to be okay. But I don't know if it's going to be a traditional victory, and that's the thing that kind of has me excited for the Dark Crisis story because I don't know exactly how the heroes are going to win in this one. Because again, you got to love it when your villains keep getting bigger and stronger, and there is still mystery behind what is the darkness. Because this is something different than what Pariah is doing.
Yeah.
Pariah can't control it. This is like a little offshoot that's flowing off, and it's all connected. The energies are all, connected, but Pariah is not controlling this. This is something out of his control. And he's not either seeing it or willing to accept it, or the fact that it's helping him do his means. So he's like, oh, everything's good. I don't think so, dude. I think we're going to get, and that's something that I'm looking forward to the next couple of issues. What exactly happens?
Because they're talking about how the Great Darkness is somehow different.
Yeah.
So is that Pariah that's doing that, or is there something else that's doing it? And I'm loving the mystery of this story. That just as you start to figure things out, there's another layer that's there. And that's something I'm really, really enjoying. Pariah, seeing the pages with Pariah were pretty good for me on this one because you get to see what looks like a traditional Crisis battle where you've got the creatures in black, that are attacking the lanterns, and you see Kyle, and you get to see our detective lantern, and I really loved seeing this battle.
Well, and I like the fact, again, Pariah is sitting there like, yeah, he'll find them, and maybe he'll free them, but they're too late. Yeah. But they're already out of time. And again, you love seeing the villains who aren't just, yes, I want to see the heroes win, but I want to see a formidable villain. I want to see these villains who are, who have a level of strategery, where it's not just going to be a simple, good guys win, bad guys lose. There's going to be levels of victory. There's going to be levels of defeat. There's going to be complexities in it. And again, seeing the lanterns kicking butt is always a cool image, just because, it's Kyle and and Joe just doing their thing. So I'm like, yeah, that's neat.
I am very curious to see what Batman's world looks like.
Yes, I really want to see this world.
Because what is with the cogs and the clocks and like that kind of theme?
He's not a bat. He's not a bat, dude.
Well, but he's got the bat. Here's the thing: he's got the bat ears and all that. So I don't know what's going on there.
I'm wondering if he's an owl.
Well, I don't know.
Why the clock, though? I don't know.
I'm very curious to see what that looks like and what's going on in that world. There's a lot to be figured out there. And Barry's like, he's like, here we go again. And Barry now has been to multiple worlds. He's had to fight these, battles. I really like how Hal's like, again? What do you mean?
Yep. Now, I wonder if Hal can power up in these other worlds.
We saw him start
we know
to.
he's got the willpower for it.
Yeah.
But is the energy out there for him to do that? Will he be able to charge up? Will he be able to green up?
I sure hope
but
so.
Again, stuff I want to see.
The whole thing that was going on with Zatanna's photo or Zatanna's painting and the fact that it was moving and things like that. You've got Detective Chimp, you've got John Constantine. They're all, talking about this ongoing mystery, and this is one of their own that they've lost. We see both Swamp Things, and I loved that because you need the history that you get from Alec Holland. But I'm glad that we're not tossing aside this new cool Swamp Thing that we have as well. And being the nature of this battle and the encompassing scope, I like that you get both. I also liked the slightly different visual representation of the two. Showing the history, showing a little bit of the distinct differences between the two. One looks more aged out of them. Yep. I really love when they bring in history like this, and they do, even with the Swamp Things. There's an idea of this would bring Alec Holland out. And that, I think that adds to this sense of the bigger scale of all this.
Yes, yeah, and I like again how they're, and one of the things I loved about this series and how they're doing is they're giving us little pieces.
Yes,
again, the Great Darkness is not a thing of good or evil. It's nor wants or needs. It just is. And I love the fact that that's the about because whenever you talk about darkness, our minds immediately go to this great evil. No, this is just something else, and it's being corrupted. And that's where I'm wondering what's going to happen with Pariah, with Slade, with all these things, and it does make you go, man, what's next? Come on.
Yeah, I like that part of all this, where it's this sense of what more is there to unveil. You've got to give a story this big when you're trying to pull in every hero and every villain from the universe and make it feel like every one of them is needed. And this multi-front warfare is really, really cool. The idea of Black Manta going up against Deathstroke, and I really like that Luthor's ready to go toe-to-toe with Deathstroke. He's like, if you cut the head off, does the army fold? And his thinking is solid, but he has no idea what he's up against. And with Lex Luthor, usually he's the guy that has the brain to know that there's something larger. This being beyond his scope, to me, felt appropriate to the story and added this dire sense to it, which I thought was awesome.
It's not every day someone outplays Lex Luthor.
Yeah.
And they 100% outplayed him right here.
Yep.
Luthor is thinking, again, Luthor always says, you're playing checkers, I play chess. Here, Luthor was playing checkers.
Yeah.
100% was not thinking, because here he's got Slade down, he's about to blast him, kill him. Nope, that was never the intention. Brought him in close enough, and they started corrupting him. And then they just started corrupting all the other villains. I'm like, man, outstanding. Once again, I love, when you have these villains who are thinking like this, who have this kind of plan, they're not just, it's not a traditional punch someone really hard, knock them out and win. No, you got to outplay him. And he completely got played. And then again, more people get corrupted. More people get things. More changes the energy. And that, for me, was a really pivotal point, showing how, as the villains are getting corrupted, the dark energy is spiking. And once again, it's giving Pariah more power on his side. Mr. Terrific's noticing it, going, we got a problem here, folks. It's too unstable. Absolutely brilliant.
Pariah succeeded. I mean, this is the issue where he succeeded. What his planned to do has now come to fruition. His goal was to create a new infinite multiverse, and he managed to pull this off. And it's an ending where it's like, wow, he just won. Now how do we deal with this? And what does that mean?
And I'll be honest with you, I love this ending.
I did too.
Again, we knew it was kind of coming, just from the way the story was laid out. So is it a big surprise? Oh my God, no. But how it played out.
Yeah.
That's the biggest strength of this story has been the how.
Yeah.
We got a good idea of what's going to happen next, but actually seeing it on page, seeing it play out, it's like, and there's still even mysteries. We still don't completely understand what is the darkness. Is Pariah going to end up having to defeat this? And what'll happen? How will they do it? What is going to happen? How are they going to stop the spreading of the darkness? Or can they stop it? Can it be contained? Is it, what's going to be the universe after this is done? And how are we going to get there? It's, absolutely love that about this story. That, it's something that's completely has me pulled in wanting to read the next issue.
I'm with you in anticipating where Nightwing goes from here. All eyes are on him because what you're seeing right now is overwhelming odds, right? Somebody's got to rally them together with, being able to pull in the best ideas, grab the best plan because they don't have time. And they've got to stop being on the defensive because what's happening is being on the defensive is leading Pariah to be able to tap dance around all of them. I love how there's a sense of urgency to this that is really, really cool. And I'm with you. Nightwing's got to, step up and be the leader that we need him to be. It's going to be very interesting. Who do you think, like, if you were to make your team of generals right now for Nightwing, and that's where I was really going with the council, Alan Scott's an obvious choice, right? Yeah. Mr. Terrific.
Yeah, Mr. Terrific.
John?
John and Damian, just because,
sure.
I always root for the little monster because he's awesome.
Donna.
Well, it's funny, that council that they show is actually a solid council.
Yeah.
Because you think about it, you got Oracle, you got Donna Troy, you got Cyborg, you got Wildcat. But I'll be honest, Wildcat is a great guy, but I would say Alan Scott more than him.
So you're saying boot Wildcat off the island? Boot
Wildcat off and replace him with Alan Scott.
Got it.
Take that page that you have right there on the Hall of Justice, the War Room, and remove Wildcat, and put on Alan Scott, and add Nightwing as the commander-in-chief.
Right. So you walk into that room and you go, listen, all of you can stay, but Ted. But Ted, I'm sorry, Ted. Yeah. You just got...
Well, actually, how I would do it is, Ted, I think you're awesome. Sean wants you gone. So if you're angry at anybody,
that's a good point.
He's the guy you should be angry at. Sean, not me.
And
so
listen,
that's how I would handle it.
In the interest in harmony, I have to go along with this right now because the team has to work. I get it. Yeah. It's a move.
Well, I just don't want the guy who's the former heavyweight champ wanting to punch me, Mm-hmm. I want him punching you instead.
In the meantime, what you don't know is I already told Wildcat you were going to do this. Before you even get a word out of your mouth, he's going to punch you. Because, really, I could care less about the harmony. I just want to see him punch you.
I'll be honest with you. In a way, it'd be worth taking the punch. Just to say, I got knocked out by Wildcat. Wildcat knocked me out.
Isn't that the truth? Because that'd be the story. Like, where'd you get that shiner? Listen, dude. Wildcat punched me. I'm with you on that one.
Yeah,
it's like
that'd be a neat story.
Yeah, and you're right. People would be far more interested in that than the how.
Yeah,
this right.
And because he's a hero, he's not going to kill me.
Right.
He's just going to punch me, and it's going to hurt. Right. But it'd be worth it.
Well, except I'm going to tell him you're corrupted.
Once again, heroes don't kill. I'm okay. I'm safe.
It's
going to hurt a lot, but. I'll be fine. I will live.
Ted, I know you're not going to want to hear this, but I don't think any of Jim's in there anymore. It's like all corrupt. And I'm really afraid that corruption is going to spread to somebody else unless you stomp it out for good. Just saying. It's one of those things.
Nothing but love.
I was wrong, Ted. That's not on you. I'm sorry.
I feel horrible about that.
I do. I don't know how I got that wrong.
And you'll be forgiven too because they're all heroes. I feel bad for you, Sean. It's got to be hard on you having you killed your best friend.
Listen, dude. I am vengeance now. Not well. This is honestly, what a great story. This is Pacing has been, I think, a really strong suit of this because it feels like it's moving fast. And we're talking about now we are 4 months in. I mean, it's more than that with the Zero issue and, the lead up to it. But it feels like it's moving fast, doesn't it to you?
Oh, big time. Yes. And again, it's something I'm absolutely loving about that. I didn't want it to trudge along. I want this thing every month going, oh, next one. Okay, jump on it. Yes. We got these other Worlds Without Justice League issues. Let me grab on those. Yeah. So I love, that I am still this excited for the series, and the excitement keeps growing. And again, that for me is a well-crafted story that it has me from beginning to end going, yes, give me more. Give me more.
Well, and they're setting the stage for 2023, which is really smart. I mean, it's a great way we're going to wrap up this year knowing where things are going and with a 2023 to get excited about. This is going to be really cool.
Yeah.
Can Batman escape? One hint, the worst is yet to come.
Our next discussion is on Flashpoint Beyond, number 5. The writers are Jeff Johns, Tim Sheridan, and Jeremy Adams. Art by Xermanico, X-E-R, M-A-N-I-C-O, and Mikhail Janin. Colors by Romelu for F-A-J-A-R-D-O. I think it's Fayerdo Jr. and Jordi Belair. Letters by Rob Lay. Covers by Mitch Gerard. Variant cover by Germanico. 125 variant by Scott Collins. 150 variant by Howard Porter and Tomei Mori. Associate editor is Marquet Draper. Editor Andrew Marino. Senior editor Katie Kubert. And of course, Superman was created by Cleveland's own Jerry Siegel and Joe Shuster by special arrangement with the Jerry Siegel family. And again, apologies on name butchering, especially on the art team. I completely butchered that one, but sorry.
This is a monumental issue because I didn't expect it to start off first page with 2 days after the Dark Crisis.
Yes.
And I mean, I think all bets are off with that because of the fact that, where Dark Crisis can go. But it's an interesting way to start off this issue with the return of the Justice League and Mr. Terrific being interviewed about it and everything that happened there. I did not expect that at all. Again, serves to have this debate with the Time Masters and Mr. Terrific about what the Divine Continuum is, which I really like. I like how they've kind of really done a good job of explaining the Omniverse, the Multiverse, the Metaverse, the Dark Multiverse, the Spear of the Gods, Hypertime, Limbo, the Vanishing Point, all of these concepts and how they go together, and how there have been people like Extant and Gog, Flash, and Demos, and Dr. Manhattan who've been responsible for, whether willingly or unintentionally, taking out the universe as we know it in these events. I really loved that whole presentation with people being like, okay, so you mean this stuff's happened and there's people that remember it and a bunch of us who don't, and I remember everything and this feels like a conspiracy. It feels very today, right? This would be something we'd see on TV today and now.
Oh, this is definitely something that would be debated, and I love how it's being handled and presented and explained. They did a great job because this stuff can be really confusing. It can get really heady sometimes. They did a great job in a couple pages explaining all the craziness that gets associated with all these different stories, bringing this whole Flashpoint Beyond, bringing all the stories with Dr. Manhattan into this continuity.
Yep.
And again, I love the fact that we're getting the story after they're telling us the ending of Dark Crisis. Where if you remember from, when we just had that conversation, we were talking about Dark Crisis, I kept saying it's not the ending that matters, it's how we get there. So right here, they're giving us this ending that we can pretty much see is coming after issue 4 with the creation of the infinite universes, and we know that Justice League is coming back. So they're not really spoiling anything, but there's still more to be told. And then it actually really helps with the Flashpoint story, explaining why the Flashpoint universe still exists. The Flashpoint universe still exists because those infinite universes were recreated during the Dark Crisis. So what looked like it was a side entity is really caused because of that. But because timey-wimey and all the weird goofiness that happens with these stuff, what came first, the chicken or the egg? And I love just that idea of where exactly is this universe that is the Flashpoint universe going to exist? Will it completely exist? Will it go away? Is it going to continue on as one of the infinite universes now? Is it, does it not prevent the other universe from happening? Again, it was absolutely brilliant on how within this issue they answered some questions, but still opened up a lot more questions to be answered in the Dark Crisis. So this is something that's not directly a Dark Crisis tie-in, but it is because it's adding to the story.
Is this happening on the Flashpoint world? Like the Bruce that's coming through the window and the Ra's al Ghul. Is that the Ra's al Ghul and the Bruce of the Flashpoint universe?
No, I'm not taking it as that. I'm taking all of this is happening.
Let me explain. Let me explain why, and we'll see. Because at the end of this, Martha has a plan. Does that plan succeed creating this?
See, I didn't take it at that at all. I took it as this is Earth Prime Universe. That's Ra's al Ghul, who we all thought died, but somehow didn't, because he's Ra's al Ghul. Mr. Terrific, in his interview, I'm taking it that's taking place on Earth Prime, and that's not the Flashpoint universe.
See,
but
I'm taking this as the Bruce Wayne of this world because Martha succeeds. And the Ra's al Ghul from this world is back too because they succeed. And Bruce rescuing his father is this world's Bruce feeling that his father needs to be saved because of what his mother did in the past.
I'll be honest with you, I never saw that, but I love it.
I don't know that I'm right. And this is the first issue that I've thought that. I was read it through in my second read through. I'm like, oh my God, what if? Now, let me go the other way too. The possibility you're laying out there, I totally agree with as a possibility here. So there's not like a friction in me going, Jim, you're totally wrong. I don't mean it that way. I've been assuming the same thing or feeling, I don't want to say assuming, I feel that there's evidence that points to what you're talking about. So I agree with you. I'm more throwing where my idea is coming from versus saying you're wrong. Because I can see it being both ways. But I feel like what I'm finding intriguing about this story is, what if that's a possibility? And I guess what I'm seeing is that is a possibility in this story. And I don't care if it turns out either way. I'm not like in that place. But I love that this story is making me think there could be more than one thing at work here. What if Martha wins? What if Martha does what she's trying to do? And the screw up here is she has, in this world, created this future. And now Bruce has to look back and go, I'm only alive right now because my mom did this and my dad died.
Yeah. I'll be honest, I did not see that at all, and I love it. That for me would be an absolute brilliant twist, because this whole time I'm reading this as this is the Earth Zero Batman dealing with dealing with these consequences. But again, if this was Bruce from Flashpoint universe, doing this,
Does he go back? Does he try to go and save his dad?
Or does he go back and try to recreate the Flashpoint universe? Is the Bruce Wayne of the Flashpoint universe trying to recreate the Flashpoint universe in that he won't exist anymore?
Because that's not what I'm saying is,
right, that's not.
Here's the problem. It's not recreating the Flashpoint universe. It's correcting his world. Because This is the Flash. What I'm saying is, I'm reading it the way you are. Because of what's happened now with what Pariah's done, this world exists. So this is not the Earth. What if this is not the Earth Prime Batman? Because I've been all along reading this as it being the Earth Prime Batman, which then you got to question, when is the Earth Prime Batman looking at all this? I don't know. Now, it could be the Earth Prime Batman, and I see that. This could be the Batman from the button and everything that we saw there, and we're seeing that whole piece play out. But what if this isn't our Ra's al Ghul? What if it's the Flashpoint universe Ra's al Ghul? Yeah. But one thing I want to say about that page that says The Clockwork Killer, did you notice the graffiti on the wall under the table?
No.
Take a look under the table. I thought it was super cool. It was a neat tribute.
Nice.
To the memory of Master Neil Adams. That was really cool that the art team snuck that in there. That was cool.
That is absolutely brilliant. I missed that on all my reads. Outstanding.
Yeah, it's kind of a neat thing. I didn't catch it till my second read through. I'm like, what is that? And that was really cool. So he's got there. See, this is the piece that's throwing me off here. Ra's al Ghul has his father's. Now he's talking about the Justice League Incarnate, and somebody in the Justice League Incarnate is an associate of his. Now, the Justice League Incarnate was made up of members of people who would have been from different universes, right? Because President Superman's a part of it and things like that. So all of that can ring true. We've got Marionette and Mime. It's interesting to see what's going on here. I love this story because I don't care if I'm right about that. It's more of, I love that I'm thinking through possibilities. These kind of stories are my favorite. Whether the path that I'm talking about is right or not, I love that I'm passionate enough that I want to defend my thinking, but I'm well aware of the fact that my thinking is me as a fan speculating.
Right. And again, I absolutely love your idea. You know, one of the things that puts a hole in the idea for me is this whole mentioning of the Justice League Incarnate stuff. But to me, that reads more of our Earth. But again, it very easily could be the Flashpoint. I've never read it, and as soon as you mention it and you're bringing up this stuff, that would be absolutely brilliant story.
But the Batman of their world was a part of the Justice League Incarnate. So it's interesting how, and there's a point to what you're saying, but there's also a point to, did somebody feed Ra's al Ghul information where now Ra's al Ghul knows, well, hey, your dad was a member of this thing called, I don't know. So it says now, one day after the Flashpoint was recreated. And I agree with you where I can look at that and go, well, that means that could have been Earth Prime, and now we're shifting from Earth Prime to the Flashpoint.
Right. Yeah, and again, it's neat how this is one day after Flashpoint was recreated, but there had been this whole story that was multiple days, before this. It's like, what came first, the Dark Crisis or the Flashpoint event? And I love how, on one hand, it does look 100% like this Flashpoint was around, but it didn't, did Dark Crisis that, what we saw in issue 4 actually created? Or is there, even when it's created, there's still, it's like the universe never stopped? And what happened to these characters? And Thomas is one of those characters who would remember the end of the universe and the rebirth of the universe and his time that he spent in Justice League Incarnate. He's one of those characters that has knowledge of everything else, whereas everybody else didn't. Or, well, some of these characters did have that knowledge. So I like how they're really tying in the stuff that they said at the beginning of this issue. They're tying in some of the stuff with Dark Crisis. It's really a cool... Again, this can get very heady and very complicated, but I love how we're still focusing really heavy on this story being told in the Flashpoint universe with these characters. But again, we're seeing the interconnections, and it's a really neat just handling of this concept involving and how this world is affected by Dark Crisis, how this world is never actually even died, even though it did, but it never really did to its participants. It's a neat explanation. Well, again, the beginning of the issue, we talk about how people will have this happen to them, where they will never know what actually happened, but some people have that connection to the universe that they remember everything. And so we're seeing with Thomas, he's one of those people. We're seeing later on that Martha is one of those people where she's got that connection to this. So it's kind of neat that, where is this going to go? And it's another story that I'm eagerly excited for what next issue has. Flashpoint Beyond could have been just another, we're revisiting the Flashpoint universe. No, it's not just that. It's furthering the story that was started in the Button, furthering the story that was started with Dr. Manhattan, furthering the story that was started with Flashpoint, furthering the story that's going on in Dark Crisis. So it's really continuing, and it's really is a part of all these other stories coming to head and coming to it. And I'm saying coming to an ending, but I did air quotes around ending because this story for me is never really going to be ending because they can always continue on it in a different loop and a different understanding and a different way of looking at things.
The Kovacs journal, the Rorschach journal that they were talking about in this, is one of the things that actually lends credence to what you're talking about, where, well, was this our universe from the button? And here's what I don't know. What did the creation of these worlds mean? What was duplicated in the creation of these worlds? I don't know. I love the intriguing nature of this story. And what happened on Earth Prime, what happened on this world now is fascinating to me. And he said that he found it in your cave. So that would be the cave from Earth Prime, right?
It should be. I think.
We'll see.
Again, I don't know. Really, in reality, when I first read this, I was thinking, yeah, Earth Prime, because, but now I don't know anymore. I honestly don't know anymore where this stuff is playing out at. And I think that's kind of a neat thing about this, that there really is some up in the air. And we got one more issue of this series. And I'm assuming at the end of that issue, these answers will be explained. But I don't think this is a story that will never really have a complete and definitive ending. It will be an ongoing where it can keep, where the ramifications of this, the ramifications of Dark Crisis, all the different crises always are going to be in play. So I don't think we're 100% locked in on where this is going to take place, where this is going to end up at.
I want Thomas saved.
Oh, big time. I want this universe saved, to be honest.
Well, that's why I want Thomas saved.
Yeah.
I think Thomas being... Here's the thing. I guess my question is what it says 2 days after... Here's the thing. It said 2 days after Dark Crisis. So is this 2 days after Dark Crisis on their world or ours? I don't know.
I don't know.
So it's interesting to see. Oswald's relationship with Thomas in this is really, really cool because he's exploring the lay of the land by saying, hey, Dexter's sister didn't kill herself. And I believed in you. This whole time, I've been behind you. You keep saying this doesn't matter, but it's going against this, what we've been doing here. He's like his Alfred, and I love that aspect of it. Where, he's saying, listen, you've been a good friend to me, Oswald. Thank you. Batman out. But he's at this point totally driven by, I got to save my kid. Saving my kid is a top priority. And by saving my kid, none of this happens. So none of it matters. And I guess what I'm questioning now, is Thomas right?
See, I don't think he is. I think
don't
Thomas
either.
Is wrong. I think the Flashpoint universe is now its own entity.
Right.
So if Thomas goes and changes it, the kid, if Thomas doesn't save that kid's still going to die. Because even if he goes back and uses the time, he's changing it, he doesn't have to sacrifice himself to save Bruce. Bruce is alive on Earth Prime.
Right.
But if he goes back and he changes his universe and changes the Flashpoint universe so that Bruce is still alive in the Flashpoint universe, that would then change everything around again for the Flashpoint universe. But it doesn't erase the existence of the universe. I think the universe is now its own separate individual life-breathing entity. Like how in the very beginning of this issue, they talk about how, all these infinite Earths, all these infinite crosspoints, so the Flashpoint universe will do if he goes back in time and changes it, he's not changing the Flashpoint universe. He's creating a divergent off of the Flashpoint universe. So there will be a Flashpoint universe where it goes on where where Dexter is killed, by his mom because Batman failed to save him. So that universe will continue on, and that Flashpoint universe will continue on. There'll be a divergent Flashpoint universe where Bruce went back in time and saved his son. So that'll be a divergent off of the Flashpoint. Again, this is the whole infinite, story, the infinite Earths concept. He's not going to change Flashpoint universe and stop it or change it permanently. It's just creating a divergent off of it. So Thomas is completely wrong in his thinking here. But the thing is, I understand what he's doing, why he's doing it. He's going by the old rules, where Flashpoint was a change of the universe, not its own separate entity, not its own separate infinite entity.
Yeah.
And I want him to realize that. And I want him to go back and save the kid. And I want to see, again, I want to see Thomas continue on in this universe.
I do too. Yes, it's all really, really cool. The stuff going on with Gilda Dent and how everything has changed here, the kid is really important. I want the kid to be his Robin.
Yes.
Like, I want that to work out, that Dent's kid becomes his Robin. I just think, boy, the stories that could come out of this, they've made this world one where I'm really, really protective of, like, this Batman and Robin, and a very different Batman and Robin.
Yes.
A Batman now that's been influenced by encountering his son on a different Earth.
Yep. And a completely different Alfred. I love Oswald in his role.
I do too.
Again, he had some funny moments, but never took away from the story by being too goofy, funny, especially with him dealing with a kid, not knowing how to deal with a kid. So he's having the kid learn how to shoot a gun. Oh, okay. Yeah, kids like that kind of stuff, right? And it was funny little bits like that, but it didn't, again, you could kind of see him trying to help out the kid, trying to help out Thomas, trying to be the loyal friend, that, Alfred always was to Bruce, but it's a little different dynamic, little tweaking dynamic. This Batman and Robin, I really 100% want to see stick around. But I don't know if we're going to get it. And that's the thing. Like, we got one more issue left. I'm like, no, don't end this universe.
This is intriguing now, because what we've got in this universe is we've got a Thomas that, is like, listen, I'd do anything to save Bruce. So she's crazy, but yet still loves and wants to save her kid in her own crazy way. The point that she killed all these people to get the information she needs to build her own time machine.
Yes.
A 2-seater.
Yeah, that's kind of nice of her.
Meaning she always intended to take her husband back.
Well, always. Because she knew she would need him. They would need to do this together to save Bruce.
Mm-hmm.
Now, I like how they identify the Joker in this universe. Because she even says she goes back and she found who... Jack Oswald White, who would have been the Joker of this universe. And they took the artistry kind of that traditional we've seen from the Red Hood stories and all that stuff, how he's a comedian.
Killing Joke. It goes back to Killing Joke, yeah.
They took that Joker, they took that guy, and, it was a neat thing there where this Flashpoint universe, they identified the Joker, and she let them live, which kind of made me go, wow, that's interesting.
I am floored by this, and I'm Rip Hunter and the whole Time Masters thing going on with this only takes it to another level. I'm really not sure where this is going to go, and I love that. Is Rip Hunter on Earth Prime right now with our Batman, or is this the Batman of the Flashpoint? Is this the Bruce Wayne if the Flashpoint world didn't play out the way that it should be? Is Rip Hunter's intention here to stop Martha from doing what she's doing?
Right.
Or does he feel that universe shouldn't exist at all?
See, and that's the thing. I don't know what this Bruce's plan is, because he's going to stop Rip. So if Rip is out there to stop Martha and Thomas, is that because this Bruce is protecting his own existence? Because then again, that plays off that this is the Bruce of the Flashpoint, universe. That Thomas and Martha went back in time and were successful, or is this the Bruce of our universe who's preventing it so his father will live again? I don't know what's going on here, and I love the fact that I don't 100% know what's going on, but for me, seeing Rip Hunter come back into the story really adds to this is going to be epic ending. Mm-hmm. 100%. So looking forward to the ending of the series. It's funny. It's not even just like I'm not looking for it to be over. I'm looking for what happens next, because I know this is not going. Even though issue 6 is the last of this miniseries, there's no way the ramifications from this story end here. we're seeing that they're really doing this where all the different stories, you're getting a piece from this story going on into the next story, going on into the next story. So I'm 100% looking forward to where this goes, because I'm hoping it ends with Flashpoint universe still around, Thomas Wayne as Batman still around, Dexter still alive, and he's his Robin, and we could actually get some Flashpoint universe stories going forward. I'm 100% hoping for that.
Yeah, me too. Me too. I mean, this has me fascinated, and this is a story that I've been loving all the way through. It hasn't been on my radar that it is somehow connected to Dark Crisis.
Yeah.
And until this issue, where I'm like, not only is it connected to that, it's connected to so many other things. Jeff Johns and team, and I say this to the whole creative team, coming back to the DC universe with a bang. I mean, not only with this storyline, but where they're going in the coming year. Wow, we got some good stuff coming our way.
And here's the funny thing with me. I've enjoyed this story, but I haven't been like, oh my God, this is epic.
I am now.
Yeah, now I am. Until this issue really had me saying, oh my God, this is epic. Last issue, I was like, man, this is really good. I'm digging this. Where's this going to go? It was like it was a build.
Yep.
And the first couple issues, I was like, oh, okay, that's kind of neat. That's neat. Yeah, going back to the Flashpoint universe, that's kind of cool, And I liked Thomas when he was in, with his time, what they used him for in Dark Crisis. Like, oh, okay, that's kind of neat, But it wasn't until really, this issue where I'm saying this is an epic story. Last issue, I said this is really good. It's now an epic. So I'm curious to see what I'm saying on issue 6.
Holy caffeine!
I would like to remind everyone about our show voicemail line. It's 1-440-388-4434 or Dr. Norge on Skype. We love having you part of the show. RagingBullets@gmail.com is our email address. Great way to send us things through email if you'd like to. We have RagingBullets.com, which is our show website, and it feeds into our Facebook fan page, and it also feeds into Twitter, whichever your preference is there. We are also proud to be part of an amazing Facebook group community, and that's where our Speeding Bullets comes from, and I really appreciate everyone that's part of the team over there. That segment wouldn't exist without the people that have been putting that together. So thank you for the entire team over there that put together the Speeding Bullets segment. You helped make this podcast what it is. The About Us section of the show website is where you can find out how to connect with us on social media and gaming platforms. We love connecting with you. We are sponsored, as always, by DCB Service and InStockTrades.com. Jim, what's going on over at DCBService.com?
We have Dark Crisis, the Dark Army one-shot, 40% off, $3.59. Dark Crisis Warzone one-shot, 40% off, only $3.59. And Dark Crisis Worlds Without a Justice League Batman issue, 40% off, only $2.99. Thank you, DCBS.
They have their deals of the week over at InStockTrades.com, and it's my favorite place to look because that's usually new materials that come in, special discounts that they're offering, up to 50% off. Robins has a trade paperback. Robins being Robin. It's $16.99 regularly. It's 50% off, only $8.49. That's a heck of a deal. Superman and Action Comics trade paperback volume 2, The Arena. If you've been loving that great story that's going on there, this is your chance to get it collected. $19.99 regularly, 50% off, only $9.99. I want to thank DCB Service and InStockTrades.com for continuing to support our show. Mr. Seglin, our next episode, we're going to be back and we're going to be talking about Batman Dear Detective and Dark Knights of Steel, Tales of the Three Kingdoms. We will see you next week.
Bye.
All right, you guys. Are you ready to sing your song?
I'd say we are. Yeah, let's sing it now.
Okay, this should be fun. Now get ready for your cue. Okay, Sean?
Okay.
Okay, Jim? Jim? Jim!
Okay. Raging Bullets time is here. We talk about what we hold dear. Comic books and TV shows. Superheroes and their clothes. Justice League and so much more. I just love Green Lantern Corps. We talk about the books we
Okay, fellas, get ready. That was very good, Sean.
Naturally.
Jim, you're a little flat there, so be careful. Jim.
Okay. Justice League and so much more. I still love Green Lantern Corps. DC Comics are what we know. The Raging Bullet Show. DC Comics are what we know. The Raging Bullet Show.
Excellent job, guys.
Let's sing it again. Yeah, let's sing it again.
No, that's enough. Let's not push it.
Push it. What is that? Yeah, what are you talking about?
No, I didn't mean anything by that.
I think
Jim,
you're going to
how long do you want the song to go?
Look, it's our production.